Unity Virtual Productions Episode 5, Bringing Video into Unity through SDI, HDMI, Android, or iPhone. Now, this is going to be our first big tutorial together. I am very excited to do this with you. This is how we're going to use code to bring video into Unity. And in the future, I think that there will be an easier way to do it without needing code, that this is just how it is right now. But doing it this way gives us a lot of control. So we are doing coding here. And if you're new to this, don't run away. Don't turn off this video. This is a follow along. You don't need to do any abstract thinking here. I believe in you. We can do this together. Here we go. How do we get video into Unity? If you have an SDI camera, you can use an SDI to HDMI converter, okay? The other way to do it is you can get something high-end like a Blackmagic Decklink recorder. So Blackmagic is going to plug into your computer and you'll be directly feeding SDI into the computer, which is probably one of the best ways to do it. And if you are doing HDMI, which for most applications you're going to have just as good quality, is you're going to go online and you're going to pick up one of these. This does 720p only. However, it cost me $15. And this a couple years ago would have been unheard of. So the technology and the hardware to do exactly what we're going to do is accessible to everyone now. We're just going to create a clean project here. I'm going to name this project HDMI video. Go up here and I want this layout, as you can see. And on my project, I want it to just be one column. Okay, and then I'm going to save this. We don't need this sample scene anymore. So here's our main, okay? I'm going to create a UI for our stuff to live in. So here's our 3D scene, and because the image right now is going to be 2D, I can click this little button 2D and I can see my area, my game scene as flat. Go to UI, go down, and we're going to create a canvas. And this canvas is where all of the UI elements in our project is going to live. If I double click it, it's going to show up right here, okay? So anything that I create under this will have these properties, and I can set it up to properly fit within my applications. So I go to Canvas and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to UI and I'm going to create another text. And you can see I have text in TextMesh Pro. TextMesh Pro is the better version of text, but for just simplicity, I'm just going to go with text for this project. So I'm going to create a text. As you can see, it's within my canvas and you can see it through my camera. And I can highlight the text, and on the screen you can see that if I am here under the Move tool, I can grab this blue box and I can drag this around. So I'm just going to put this at the bottom. Under my canvas, I'm now going to create a button. So I'm going to go to UI and I'm going to go down to button, okay? And I'm going to create one more button. So I'm going to go back to Canvas, UI, button. Okay. Now, when I click on the button, I have the name up here. So this first part, I'm going to be calling it Camera On. Camera On button. And then over here, I'm going to call this Camera Switch button. I did not change the text on the button. So what I need to do is click this down little arrow here, go to the text, and this is the actual text that you will see of the button. And then I'm going to call this Camera On. And I'm doing it under the text element here. Okay, so now I can grab this and I can drag it down here and say that is Camera On, and drag this down here and say that is Camera Switch. So I'm building a UI that's going to overlay. So under Canvas, let's now make where the HDMI will live. So I'm going to go to right click, UI, and I'm going to choose from this panel, we have choices. We have raw image. So a raw image is something that's not rendered. It's raw video going into Unity. Like, you can also have video feeds from the internet going into Unity in real time. So all these real-time raw things, right now in Unity, we use the raw image. It's width and height under rect transform, and I'm gonna make it 1280 by 720. The items down here come first, and then the items here are last. So if I take the raw image under my canvas and I drag it to be in the back, the first thing that pops up, you can see that my text and my buttons are now appearing over my raw image in the background. So we have our main items in our canvas set up. And what we need to do next here is set this up so it sees the same size as our image coming in. If you want full HD, you can click it, but only for this, I'm gonna do 720. And I've created this preset here. So I'm gonna click add a new item, and I can add in my width and height. Now I made something earlier that's 1280 by 820. So I'm adding a little bit on each side, and you're going to see why in a moment, is I'm going to put the buttons and the information in that area. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to go to Canvas, and see it says Canvas Scaler, and I'm going to go to Scale with Screen Size, okay? And we know that our screen size is 1280 by 720. I have the raw image here. What I can do is I'm going to just drag it up and it snaps a little bit. So I have 100 pixels at the bottom here, and that's where I'm going to build my UI. Click Canvas, go to UI, and I'm going to create an image. I'm going to go to the color. I'm going to pick a gray. Okay. I'm going to bring this down, and the width will be 1280. So this background, so this is going to be background color. As you can see in the hierarchy, it's at the top. So I'm going to drag this down in the hierarchy, and now our buttons and everything can go on top. So I'm going to drag my buttons down. So now we're going to have some fun, and we're going to create the script that's going to control everything. So in our assets, I'm going to go and I'm going to right click, create, and I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call this scripts. I'm going to right click, create, and choose C# script. And I'm going to name this camera script. I'm going to hit enter, and the script has now been created. Right click, and I'm going to create an empty object. This empty object is going to house our camera script. So I'm going to call this camera controller. The next thing I do is I have this empty object in the scene, and I'm going to just drag the camera script onto the camera controller, okay? And it's now something that's, the script is now living in the scene. Double click the camera script, and it's going to open it up in Visual Studio Code. So here's our script. The first thing we had to do is control these buttons. And we're going to create a public void, swap cam clicked. And then I'm going to create a public void, start stop cam clicked. Int current cam index, and then we're going to assign it 0. So this part at the bottom, we can just take away. We do not need this. We're going to bring in a reference to our webcam texture, and we're going to call it text. The raw image, we're going to create a reference to it. So public raw image display, we get a squiggly because we need to go up here and using Unity engine.ui. And we're going to use what we just referenced, webcam device equals webcam texture dot devices, and then using brackets current cam index. So here's some incredible power with code, is if we type in device and I type in dot, okay, we get some stuff that pops up here. We have control of the camera here. We have available resolutions, depth camera name, is autofocus supported, is the camera front facing, the kind, the name. These things we can reference and we can view this information. What we're going to do is text equals new webcam texture device name. So we're referencing the device name. I want the raw image display to be referenced. So display.texture equals text. When we switch cameras, we want to nullify that texture and get it ready for the next source. Okay? Bringing this down, if texture is not equal to null, text.stop, and before that, we want to clear the texture. So display texture equals null, and afterwards we want the texture to be null. So what happens when you click this button is we're going to nullify and clear the texture and get it ready. Now we're going to do text.play, and it's going to play the texture. This is an if statement, and we're going to wrap the rest of this in an else statement. You can highlight this text. Instead of command and paste, I can hold down Alt and use the up and down arrow keys and move it into this position. And I'm just going to tab this stuff over. So if I have a camera, I want to set it to null and I want to stop it. Or else, if I don't have a camera, I want to create a camera from the current cam that's in the index. And then I want to play the camera. Now that this is created, let's go back to Unity. As you can see up here, I have a little asterisk, which means that this project isn't saved. So Control S will save it, and everything we just did, when I go back to Unity, it's going to compile the script all together. And as you can see right there, display popped up. So we have this little box for our raw image, and we can grab this raw image and drag it in. Perfect. And now we're going to hook up the buttons that we just made with the code. So camera switch button, we have all this stuff on the side. I'm going to scroll down to button, and we have something called on click list is empty. This is how to create a button in Unity. Very easy. I love it. What you do is you click and you add a function, okay? And I'm going to take the camera controller and I'm going to drag it in to this bottom area. Forget about the runtime only. Then you have this no function. So we click this and you can see that we have swam cam clicked. So I made a mistake here. All we have to do is go back to our code, and instead of swam, that should say swap. And I'm going to hit save. Go back to Unity. It's going to update. So let's go back again. Camera switch button. Click on the button. Go down to on click. We have the camera controller. And the function that we want is swap cam clicked. And I'm going to hit that. And so now when I click that button, it's going to work. So let me go over to camera on button, hit the plus sign, going to grab the camera controller, drag it in, go to function, camera script, and I'm going to go to start stop cam clicked. And there we go. We have the buttons hooked up. Let's go back into the UI and do something really cool with this button where we're going to make it say what's actually the status of the button. So let's go back to our script, and we're going to go up to the top right here, and we're going to create public text start stop text. Then we're going to go down, and right here, we're going to add start stop text is dot text is going to equal start camera. Down here under texture play, when it's playing, we want the button to say stop instead of start. So start stop text dot text equals stop camera. And we can make this code easier is we're going to add some information here. Now, when you do the double /, it does not add it to any of the active code. It's just code for you and I or any other program to read as comments. So let's call this stop the camera. And we're going to call this start the camera. What we do next is we're going to refactor this code, and we're going to highlight this, right-click, quick actions, and refactoring, and then we get two choices here, and we're going to do extract method. So it took that and brought it down for us, and we're going to call this stop webcam. So now we're going to go up here, and let's talk about what's going to happen. Okay, if text is not null, then we're going to stop the webcam. Otherwise, we're going to start the webcam. So if text is not equal to null, then stop webcam shall be activated. And then stop cam clicked. And now I'm going to set up the camera text. So I'm going to the camera on button, and I have this text item. So if I go to my camera controller, start stop text is right here. What do? My camera on button, that text, I'm going to click and drag it over to the start stop text, and now we have it hooked up. And this is super cool because this little button is going to say camera on or camera off. All right, we're looking great. We have the project playing, so I'm going to click camera on, and I'm going to hit camera switch, and you can see here I am. What the other camera you just saw that I have right here is just a Logitech webcam. So when I hit camera switch, there we go. It's brought up the Logitech camera. Just through the USB port, the computer Unity recognizes the camera from this list of available cameras that's interfacing with your computer, which is the same thing as if you interfaced this application with an Android or iPhone device. And I can click stop camera, and I can stop and start the camera, and then I can click camera switch, And boom, now I'm looking directly at you. That's how to bring video, HDMI, SDI, webcam, or using an iPhone or iOS device into Unity. This is how we do it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and give me a like and subscribe, and check out the next video. Thanks for watching.